don't know if that's an omen here, that all we have is faith when we buy guitars online. And of course, always, the million-dollar question is, how high is the saddle? And how high is the action at the 12th fret? That's where guitars are going to go bad with age. Otherwise, age is a good thing on a guitar. Guitars only get better with age, unless they become structurally dodgy. So it doesn't come with the case. If it does come with the original Eastman certificate of authenticity, isn't that good? And it's also got the rag. So this is an AC-DR1, 16755-126. Now this one, the 1 and the 7, 2017. So this guitar's 8 years old, and the 6, apparently the second number, January, February is 1, March, April is 2, so 6 would be November, December. So this was built in November, December 2017. So it's 8 years old. So as I say, it's super old, new stock. And so my premise about this whole thing, this whole purchase, is that Eastmans are investable. You heard it here first. Wow, for what I presume is an old guitar, it looks new. Maybe it's new old stock. But check that out. There's tons of saddle height on this. A very tall, proud saddle. That's great. It's a very tight grained Sitka. It's got a little wave in it here, it's got a little kink here. It's not 100% straight. And it's got the old curve, so it's not a traditional series. So this discontinued all solid dreadnought from Eastman, and that's why I bought it. I love Eastman guitars. Plus, I really am starting to appreciate that every year that passes that you own a guitar, they just sound nicer and nicer. Case in point is this one I'm really, really enjoying, which is my E3DE. Yeah, so see, that serial number's got an M in front of it. So I'm really confused about Eastman serial numbers. And then this is the E1OM special. And then this is the Yamaha. So if you watch my channel, I've got stuff about all these guitars, and I do direct comparisons where I cut between the two guitars playing the same thing. Yeah, the mystery deepens because I thought this guitar was like 10 years old, but look at that. It's still got this tag on it. And to be honest, I wouldn't trust the EXP coated strings. I don't like them. I would go to the EJ16s. Play more, do more, earn more. There you go. We are going to earn more. And it's got the old curved headstock. It's like new, honestly, it's a new guitar. So let's have a look. It's an E1D. It's got this faux tortoise shell binding. It's got the sapele or sapel back. Oh, it's got a nice shape to the sapel. It's got some quite nice figure there on the back of the headstock. In the neck there. And I'm pretty happy with that. I mean, I thought I was getting something old. Old but new. And the million-dollar question. So we've got a lot of saddle height. Beautiful. That's like the saddle that's from the factory. So now the next step, of course, is to measure the height here. Okay, I think we're going to be prepared to be disappointed here. Let's have a look. Now, oh my Lord, we're at 10. God damn, or is that even 11? That's super high. Okay, so we're going to have to do a lot of saddle reduction. So the only other thing to check is the relief. Let's do that now. So the way I do it, like without measuring, and I've shown this before, you just put your finger on the fret that meets the body and the first fret here, and you tap. Okay, that's good, especially on this low side. I reckon we could definitely straighten this neck a little bit, and that will gain us a couple of 64ths or 1/64th maybe out of those 4 that we need to get. Over the years, Eastman have faffed around with the position of their truss rod adjustment. The old ones had it played up here. Then my E10D had it all the way down here, and then they introduced these long Allen keys or hex keys. So let's go in, and there it is. Now this is what I do here. You don't want to just crank that against the tension of the string. So what I'm going to do is hold it here and then brace it here with my arm. And then I can just basically put some tension on that neck back like that, and then just turn clockwise. Look. I think that'll do. You've got a very limited motion here between the strings, and that's good because you don't want to go much more than that. That was actually quite stiff. So I just turned that about the fraction of a circle, right? I think we'll go one more. But what we'll do is, look, I guess I should do the adjustment without the string tension. It's a bit scary how high this action is. You'd never buy it from the shop like this. Okay, let's go again. There we go. Yeah, see, that's feeling quite tight, so I'm just going to leave that. Got plastic pins. bone nut and saddle. Oh, of course, the other thing about this guitar is it's got a rosewood fretboard. The E series all have ebony fretboards. But you know what? I think it's nice to have a rosewood. That changes the tone a little bit. I think the ebony is a bit more sort of percussive and crisp, but there's definitely a different feel to it. I had an interesting chat several years ago in a music store in my local area. I don't like going into music stores. I don't like the staff. But the guy said that one of the reasons why Gibson are so much more expensive in Australia is because they have a dealership and all the guitars come here and have a final checkup in Australia. And that's like really expensive. You can imagine like hundreds of dollars worth of service. They wouldn't send a guitar out like this to the shop. Whereas Eastman, any store in Australia can get an Eastman dealership and they send the guitar straight to the shop. So it's really up to the store to do a setup. Most of them don't. So it takes people like me who can get in and do it. I'm just going to use this little tool here to lift this out. There we go. It's a rosewood bridge as well. That makes a good point of difference. It makes me sort of feel more justified owning a guitar that has this variation and specification. It'd be great to do a comparison with the E1 and all my other Eastmans, which is what's coming up later in this video. I also think, just looking at it, it's a 1 11/16 nut. It's not a wide nut. And I can tell you now, and this is often the way with the budget guitars, it's got a really slim neck. I can feel it. It's really dainty down here. Very kind of un-Eastman-like. And here's the big saddle. It's huge. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the drawing board. The ones that I get from China are all a bit wider. I have to go and do a bit of filing and sanding, which I don't like doing. You've got to wear a mask really, because this dust is pretty bad if you breathe it in. Some say you can get mad cow disease if you sand too many bone saddles. God forbid. Yeah, this one looks good. See, it just needs to be narrowed from the sides. So by the way, let's have a close look here at the rosewood. It's a dark rosewood. It'll change the tone a little bit, right? So I've got these little files from China. They've been good. Okay, just tuning it up. And we're on 5. I haven't got tension on the strings yet. That's good though. Just my tip, that this is the main thing you need to look at if you look at guitars. Maybe you haven't got a lot of experience. It really is all about how much saddle this has got. And of course what you want is a good height here and the right height here. The right height here is 6/64. Sorry, I don't even use metric, and I'm Australian, because I just love the way the 64th just divides so nicely. I think the 64th is a better measure than a millimetre. Really, so you want this to be 6 and 5 on this side, and you want this to be as tall as possible. And the other thing to look for, and I looked at Martin's, a lot of the modern ones, they don't have a lot of bridge height. So the width of this bridge, and actually this is quite shallow here, this one, because really if you think about it, it's this bridge height in combination with the saddle height that's actually creating the leverage that's driving the top. It's literally the mechanism that creates the sound on the guitar. So if you make it lower, you're just playing it safe. It means that you can brace the top. The stabilization of the top is going to be able to happen a lot more easily because there's a lot less force. And imagine every tiny increment you go up higher here, if it's really tall, you literally just tear this whole bridge off. That's the whole conceit of the flat top acoustic guitar, that they went to this pinned bridge system instead of having the one with the tailpiece. And it creates the volume, and it also, I think, creates the bass. So they've been in existence, since the turn of the century, but the dreadnought since more closer to World War II. That's what we're playing today. E flat at 432. Oh, and the other thing I always do when I'm tuning guitar is this. Around the octave, just give it a good tug. It's holding tune beautifully. This guitar's stable. And the tuners are nice. It's unbranded, sealed tuners, and they've got the little screw on the end. Yeah, I really get the feeling this is a brand new guitar. I don't think anyone's ever played it or barely strummed it for even a few minutes. So look, that's an interesting combination, isn't it? Brand new, never played. All right, here it is brought up to E. at 432. Alright, so just to conclude this little setup video, that strumming you just heard there was done with the action here. Bang on 6, it's perfect. Maybe a fraction over 6. I've got some of my guitars at 7. What about this side? It's closer to 4 than 5, I think. Yeah, plus this, I thought I could hear that coated string sound. It's a bit bright and bassy, and it's just not as warm in the mids. That's to my ear. And I guess they'd last forever, and maybe as they get old, they might get better. I've honestly never played them and persevered with them. The other thing, I haven't really commented much about the sound, but just the feel of it, like it's a bit brash and bright, but it's also got a lot of bass and a lot of power, and just from my experience, it will fatten out through the mid-range, I think, as it settles in. But what I like about it is it's relatively light, and the top feels really lively. And I think it's a really good example of a D18 style dreadnought. And I like the fact that it's got the big size. The big size is something I like. It just creates that extra bass. Okay, so there's another really important thing I wanted to mention about this guitar and why I'd grabbed it. I'm kind of only joking about being investable. Maybe they are, but you might have to hold on to them for a long time. Potentially, an Eastman might be investable because it is no longer as big as it used to be. So here, look at this upper bout, and we have a reading here of 4¼ inches top bout. Here's the E3DE. It's just under 4. Can you see that? Look, I'm going to change to the metric. It is 98 millimeters. Here's an example where metric actually is better. Horses for courses. And this one is 103. So this is 5 millimeters deeper. And the bottom bout, it is 120 mil. Look, I'm not knocking millimeters. Of course, builders use it. And this one is 115. So once again, yeah, it's 5 millimeters shallower in the body. Now let's check the lower bout. We'll come across here. So it's 26.5 to there, 38 on the bout under the bridge. We're going to come to 27 there, just by eye. 39. There you go. Anyway, long story short, this guitar is built to the old Eastman Dreadnought standard. And as you can see, it's bigger. And I did get confirmation from someone in my comments that even the E40D and an E20D of more recent years were built on this smaller scale. And as I've mentioned in previous videos, I think it's the influence of Dana Bourgeois coming into Eastman, and I think this is his preferred size for the Dreadnought. Before the E series, they had the AC series. They would have been the larger size, and they had the same shaped bridge as this. And then also my early E10D is bigger, and I have an AC 120. Which is also the bigger dimension. You could argue about the variation in the bass response and whether this is a nicer sounding, more balanced guitar, but a lot of people do believe size matters. So potentially these old Eastmans will become more collectible if you know you've got one with the bigger dimension. So the new AC-DR1.